The village of Zango was a quiet place, untouched by the modern world. Its people lived in harmony, trusting one another like family. But everything changed the day a strange merchant arrived. He was a man of wealth, draped in fine clothes, his voice smooth like flowing honey. He claimed to bring fortune and prosperity, promising to trade their old, tattered garments for something far greater. His words bewitched the villagers, filling them with dreams of riches. They welcomed him with open arms, eager to hear more of his promises. Little did they know, they were inviting deception into their midst. The merchant wasted no time in convincing the villagers. He spoke of a faraway kingdom where old clothes were valued like gold. "Bring me your worn-out garments," he urged, "and I shall reward you handsomely." Skepticism flickered in a few eyes, but greed quickly drowned their doubts. People rushed home, scouring their wardrobes for anything they could offer. Even the village elder, wise and cautious, hesitated only briefly before parting with his cherished robe. A new era of wealth seemed to dawn upon Zango, but beneath this illusion, a storm was brewing. Day after day, the merchant collected more clothes, stuffing them into large sacks. In return, he handed out small trinkets and glistening coins, making the villagers believe they had struck a grand bargain. The once bustling streets echoed with laughter and celebration. Songs of prosperity filled the air, and even the poorest among them felt the touch of fortune. But as the merchant's sacks grew heavier, the villagers' warmth slowly faded. The people, once bound by trust, now eyed each other with suspicion, each fearing they might lose out on this golden opportunity. One morning, the village awoke to find the merchant gone. His stall stood empty, his tent abandoned. The villagers searched frantically, hoping to find him counting their riches, ready to offer more in exchange. But he had disappeared without a trace, taking with him their old clothes and their newfound dreams. Panic spread like wildfire. They had been deceived. Their garments, their memories, their heritage, stolen in the name of greed. The village elder sat in silence, his heart heavy with regret. The people had traded more than just fabric, they had traded their innocence. With the merchant gone, a heavy silence settled over Zango. The villagers looked at each other, realization dawning upon them like a bitter sunrise. They had let greed blind them, and now, all they had were worthless trinkets in place of their cherished past. The once celebratory air had turned sour. Children, who once wore clothes passed down for generations, now stood in rags. The elders, who had wrapped themselves in fabrics rich with history, were left with nothing but the cold. The lesson had come too late, and the cost was immeasurable. Determined to reclaim what was lost, a group of villagers set out to find the merchant. They followed his tracks through the dense forests, across the winding rivers, and into unknown lands. Days turned into weeks, but hope kept them going. They met travelers who had heard of a man trading old clothes for gold, but none had seen him since. With each passing day, their resolve weakened. It was a fool's chase. The merchant was a shadow, slipping through their fingers like the very wealth they had once dreamed of. Back in the village, whispers of the merchant's betrayal spread beyond Zango. Other villagers heard of the deception, learning from the mistakes of the foolish. The elders from distant lands warned their people, ensuring history would not repeat itself. Zango, once known for its warmth and hospitality, became a cautionary tale. The wind carried their sorrow, a reminder of how easily greed could corrupt even the purest hearts. Parents warned their children, beware the man who promises gold for things you hold dear. The village elder gathered his people, his voice firm yet filled with sorrow. We were not only robbed of cloth, but of our trust and unity. Let this be our lesson. The villagers listened, their faces downcast, ashamed of their eagerness. We cannot change the past, but we can shape our future. He urged them to rebuild, to forge bonds stronger than gold, to remember that their worth lay not in material things, but in their spirit. Slowly, the village began to heal, their hearts growing wiser with the passing days. With newfound determination, the villagers worked to restore what was lost. Women wove new garments, not out of desperation but out of love. The elders passed down their wisdom, teaching children the value of heritage over wealth. The people no longer sought riches in gold but in the warmth of community. What the merchant had taken, they would regain, not through vengeance, but through resilience. And as the fabric of their lives was rewoven, so too was their trust in one another. Years later, a traveler arrived in Zango, wearing a cloak eerily similar to those once worn by the villagers. His face was unfamiliar, but his presence sent ripples of unease through the people. Had the merchant returned in disguise? Or was this another trick? The elder approached him, his gaze piercing. "Where did you get this garment?" The traveler hesitated before revealing that he had bought it in a distant marketplace. The truth struck the villagers like a bolt of lightning: their stolen clothes had been sold for profit elsewhere. Realization dawned upon the villagers. They had spent years lamenting their loss, but in truth, they had gained something greater. The merchant had taken fabric, but he had also left them with wisdom. No longer would they be blinded by greed. No longer would they trust empty promises. True wealth lay in their unity, in their traditions, in the bonds they shared. The village elder smiled, his heart lighter than it had been in years. "Let him keep the clothes," he said. "We have something far more valuable." Generations later, the tale of the merchant and the stolen clothes remained alive. It was told by parents to children, by elders to youth. It was no longer a story of loss, but of learning. The village of Zango never forgot the lesson of greed, and because of that, they thrived. The merchant's deception had forged a wisdom that no amount of gold could buy. And so, life moved on, but the whispers of the past remained, carried by the wind, forever echoing in the hearts of those who had witnessed the truth. Thank you for joining us on this magical journey through the heart of the village. We hope this story has shown you the beauty and mystery that can be found in everyday life. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this tale with your friends. Who knows what other secrets we will uncover in the next adventure?